Hello, hello, hello. Today I'm talking with Alexandra Oporto. We talked about understanding ourselves before understanding others, how her role influences what she shares with the team she's working with. And we also talked about parallel universes. I'm Ivanul from Who's Agile. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to my channel. You see a lot of agilists around me on this screen. If you want to hear me interviewing, please click that subscribe button because these are the people that I've invited so far. If you think I'm missing people, let me know in the comments. And that like button, well, if you liked today's interview, don't forget to click it. Hello everyone. And with me I have Alexandra, I think.
Hello, hello. Happy to
Hello.
be here.
Happy to have you here. And when we say here, I want to show us a little bit. Here means for me in Ghent in Belgium, and we're moving all the way to the rest of the world, and we're coming back to Lima, if I'm correct.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So that is a whole different part of the world. And for me, it's 10 minutes before 10 in the evening. And what time is it on your side?
It's 10 minutes before 3 p.m. in the evening. Yeah.
So we see a whole bit that not just a lot of miles and kilometers apart, but also a lot of time zones apart.
Yes.
But that's thanks to the internet, we have the opportunity to have these kind of conversations. So yeah,
Yes.
Alexandra, for the people that don't know you, could you just before we start with the questions, give a small introduction? What do you want people to know about you?
Well, okay. So right now I'm working related to technology and all this innovation wave that we are having in
Mhm.
organizations as a product manager and as a product designer. But before that, I have been working in human resources for a long time because I'm a
Mhm.
psychologist. So I can say that I have a mix of different um, experiences and specialties related to the work that I have been doing. So yeah, that's in a nutshell about me.
That's already indeed the short version, and I guess we will jump into some of these things in a minute when we go to the questions, because that very first question is, what is something that people usually don't know about you, but has influenced you in who you are?
Uh, Maybe what I can say that people usually don't know about me is that I'm also a psychotherapist.
Hmm.
I'm currently I'm still studying about psychoanalysis, so to learn more about the unconscious part of the mind. So I can say that that has influenced me a lot, and that also helps me a lot when I need to work with people, with teams, with discovering how is people behaving and why, especially
Hmm.
why they behave as the way they behave. So that's something that from time to time people says to me, I didn't know that you are also a psychotherapist. So that's something that gets people surprised about me. Yeah.
Okay, and how could you give an example? Because you talked already a little bit that it could help you. Could you give an example in how these things are helping and how it is influencing in yeah in who you are and what you're doing?
Um, Maybe, for example, when I need to work with teams and to create a kind of a diagnosis about the team and how they are, and at the moment that they are having, for example, if they are having a difficult situation and we need to know why they are having that difficult situation, um, in that moment or in that occasion, I it is very natural for me to start analyzing all the different members of the team and try to discover what is underneath the what we are uh,
Hmm.
like seeing, like I mean the external part of the team, but I try to understand what it is below that, and why they are behaving as that, and it is
Mhm.
helpful.
And
I,
when
mhm.
you look into that, is that something that you then discuss with the team, or how should I see that?
Not always, because sometimes I just work with teams as for example, as an agile facilitator or a product manager, as that, just as that. But I can say that that is one tool to understand a little bit more about how people behave and the unconscious part of the mind. It helps me to understand them. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, I feel that sometimes I need to be very careful about how I share with them my diagnosis from them, because I'm not working as a psychotherapist when I am working, for example, as a product manager or an agile facilitator. It's not the role that I'm having, and so I need to be very careful on what part of the information I share with them, and what other part maybe I can say, well, this is to work in another, for another occasion and not at this moment, so yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's exactly why I'm asking, because yeah, I'm not a psychotherapist, but I did 2 years of therapy training, enough to understand the difference, and also enough to know that okay, I didn't finish that education, so enough to know that okay, this is not what I want to do with the teams, because I'm not in that role. And I
Yes.
really like what you say, when okay, we might see some things, but especially if we're not hired in that role, it might actually be very dangerous to step into that, if we're not hired in that way. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really like that you mentioned that, because I've sometimes seen that people read one or two books about psychology and then think they understand, and then even start to psychoanalyze people where we're not in
Yes.
that role. And I'm happy to hear that you, with your education, you definitely don't want to step in that trap, because it's yeah. Again, if you're hired for that, or if we talk about that, and people say, okay, I want to do such sessions again, then we need to see you're not really hired for that, but people might appreciate some of that stuff. But still, it's different than, like what you say, when you are fully in your role as psychotherapist. That's definitely a completely different role.
Yes.
Um, but I can imagine that, yeah, knowing everything you know, it's really helpful to understand better what's happening with team members, and why they want certain things. So thanks for sharing this. That's already been very interesting. And so I want to move, and feel it a little bit annoying that this question, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to move this question a little bit. That's much better. If you had not been doing what you've been doing now, what could have become of you? Do you have any idea?
Yes, of course. I would have loved to be an artist, and
Hmm.
so yeah, I can say that I can imagine myself in another universe, like in a parallel universe, being an artist. Yeah, so
And what kind of artist are you then thinking about? Is that in music, in painting, in movie,
painting. Yeah,
painting?
yeah. So that's something that I can very easily imagine myself doing
Hmm.
at this moment.
And
If I have not started to study for being a psychology, and then all the different things that I have been doing all these years. Yeah.
And so does that did you also do anything with art at a younger age? Were you making a lot of paintings? How is that was that for you?
Yeah, all my life I have been like very close to art. Maybe it's because my father is an architect, and also my grandfather always was encouraging me to develop my skills in arts. So
Hmm.
maybe it's because of that, and I have been thinking all my life that when the moment comes, I was going to start studying arts.
Hmm.
So, but at the end, at that moment in the city where I was living, It was not possible because of the university. There was not a university there in that city, in Arequipa, which is at the south of Peru, that I can study art in university. So I needed to decide into another career. So that's why I
Mm.
ended choosing psychology, but also graphic design. I used to study psychology during the mornings, and during the afternoons and evenings, graphic design. Yeah.
You combined two educations at
Yeah.
university.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you do that from the first year on, or how did you do that?
Yeah. From the first year, and my plans were to end both careers, but at some point, the graphic design career, it was an institute, it was not a university. They decided to close the evening
Oh,
classes and move everything into the morning. So I needed to decide if I keep on studying graphic design or psychology. So yeah, I ended choosing
choosing for.
psychology, not because of myself entirely, because of my family, that they want me to finish university instead of the institute
Mm.
at that moment. And
And
so,
what?
but they
How many years did you study at that moment the graphical design already?
2 years, and the studies were 3 years. So I just needed
Oh,
one
that's
more year to end that career. And so that I keep the promise to myself that at some moment I will come back. I was going to come back to that field. So now I can say that I'm very happy to be in doing that. When I started to learning more about UX UI design and all that things, and it was because of my path that I have been doing in agility. That's how I discovered UX UI design, and now I combine uh, both fields. Working with agile teams, and also now working also with the UX UI teams. Yeah.
and so
So
things are finally coming together in a
yes,
way.
yeah,
And so yeah, but I can imagine, especially for someone like you, if you combine already university with something, so it's like you have two things that you're really want to do, you're investing in, and then all of a sudden the school says, well, okay, we're doing it at different hours, like, oh, okay, now you're kind of forcing me to choose, and unfortunately I won't be choosing for you because yeah, then
yeah,
but again, so many years later, we see that, hey, life comes together. This is, for me, one of the interesting parts about asking people this question, because I've seen it already multiple times that people say, well, it was something, a destiny, and then something changed, but I'm still doing it in a way, or might be doing it, and sometimes things come back, and this
yeah,
is, yeah, the interesting part of life, I would say. We don't
yeah,
always know in what direction things will move, positive or negative.
yeah,
And for you, it's kind of merging back. That's nice.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and that's also something that um, I suggest to young people, to have the courage to keep on moving into what they want. And now I think that the careers are not like pure, like, for example, if you study psychology, you only will dedicate your life to psychology and just
mhm.
that. It is more, I can say that nowadays it is more important to do this kind of experiments or mix with other fields, with other careers, and then you can have a new like version of how you live your career. So that's something that I always suggest, or give that idea to young people that are just starting their their studies. Yeah.
That's yeah, I really like that. I have two kids who are at right now at university level, so
Yeah.
21 and 19 studying, and yeah, it's partially the passion, it's partially, and I see indeed some of their questions like, this is the most important decision in my life, and in a way it is. But like your path already shows, well, maybe something later will still change you if you need to stop for one of the your options, things. Um, yeah, so that it still is possible.
Yes, yes, of course.
So that's really nice. Let's move to that third question. If what do you consider your biggest challenge, and why is it a good thing for you? And of course, the biggest challenge that you want to be open on the internet.
My biggest challenge. Um, I don't know. I find that as I'm working with teams and with people and helping organizations to do all this digital transformation or organizational transformation, I find myself that maybe my biggest challenge is to understand myself first and then try to help others to find new ways of working together. Like I think if you are a facilitator, an agile facilitator, or any kind of facilitator, you firstly need to know yourself to discover what are your weaknesses and your strengths, and then after that you can help other people to better understand themselves and to help teams to work in a more productive way or whatever. So as again, as I work with people, I feel that my biggest challenge is to understand myself, to keep on working on that, because you never end discovering about yourself. So yeah. um,
I really like that. Indeed, it's the older I get, the more I'm confronted with myself. I would say, the more I'm learning. Well, especially with kids, you get a real mirror of some of the things, and yeah, so that gives interesting discussions, at least for me, and indeed keep discovering myself and keep learning about myself and some of the things I might like or I might dislike, and then I see things that I hated about my parents. I see coming back when my children put that back to me, and it's yeah. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that challenge of understanding myself, because with all interactions, when I like or I dislike an interaction with a person, it says a lot about myself as well,
yes.
and so yeah, and also for me, like this weekend, I noticed that I didn't feel myself well, physically. Then I meant, and that actually had a real impact also on how I behaved. And so that is also an important one. The better I know myself, also at my body level. Yeah, what
Yeah.
does that mean for interactions? I really like that.
Yeah,
And
that's
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, and that's also very important what you just mentioned about the body, like to listen our body also, not just what
Mhm.
you are thinking, how you are feeling. It is also very important to listen our body, because sometimes we are working a lot or very hard, and we need to interact with many different people, and sometimes our body give us signs that maybe you need to relax, or maybe it's time to drink more water, or to do a pause.
That
So
was it in my case. I didn't drink
yeah,
enough water last week, so so that was definitely the case in my case. And so yeah, that's and ignoring that, yeah, you can do that for a while until your my body or our body says at some point like shush,
yes.
it's not
Yes.
possible anymore. This is really need to take a rest, and so yeah, that's there is a lot there. Um and so the second part of that question is why is that a good thing for you? Could you give an example on discovering yourself? Why is that then a good thing for the work or for other things?
Mm, I don't have a specific occasion, but I can say that I had many different occasions in where I like listen to myself and to understand that maybe there's we are having a difficult uh, problem to resolve at the team. Um, I try to understand how I am approaching that problem. If I am the leader, how do I am approaching that problem? Is something that is confronting me or in a personal way, and after that, I try to give an idea or a solution to the team.
Mm,
So to have this mini post to yourself and then keep on moving into working with the team, with the people. Yes, because I can say that here in South America and maybe in all or our Latin American countries, we work so hard and we always want to do what all the possible in 24 hours, and it is a craziness sometimes because it is a lot of work, and I can say there is no time to think, to reflect, to think why you are doing what you are doing. So that's why for me it is very helpful to have this mini space to reflect, to think about what I'm going to do and not just go immediately with the action. Firstly, stop, think, realize how you are feeling, realize if you are reacting in some way because it is confronting you in a different angle, and then okay, then you move into the action. That's how I use it. Yeah.
I really like that because indeed it's yeah, there's a lot of value there about what how would I say it, yeah, the impact just on reflecting and realizing, wait a minute, that problem, maybe it's not even with the team, maybe it's just me approaching the team, maybe I'm interacting, yeah, I see that a lot. That in sometimes in conflicts between either scrum master, coaches, managers, or whatever, and a team, that sometimes some of the discussions is just between, yeah, I don't know, might be a scrum master and a product owner and has nothing to do with the team. But if we don't realize that, we might, yeah, we might impact the team on a way that yeah, that we don't want that. And again, it's we shouldn't always hide some of these discussions and confrontations, but at some points when it's really more a personal issue, okay, let's discuss this outside of the team, and just deal with it in that kind of way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that when you bring that. So that's very valuable, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I wish at least I would have learned that like years ago when I was like 20 or whatever, because definitely it's something. Yeah, I'm lucky to say that I've already know it a couple of years. But okay, at 50, I don't know. It was definitely more close to the 50 than to the 20. I think that I learned that. So thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
Um, when I look in this conversation, also when I follow you, it's for me, it's very clear you're a passionate, a driven person. Do you have any idea where that drive, that motivation is coming from?
Hmm. Uh, where that motivation comes from, I don't know. Sometimes I feel myself that and I don't always have good days, but
Mhm.
yeah, but at
Just
the
like
end,
many of us. So
yes,
thanks.
yes, yes, yes. But then I don't know. I don't know where this motivation came.
Is that
I
something you always had when you were young, for example, or is that
Yeah, yeah, and I can say that when I was younger, it was more strong, maybe because when you are young, you think you can do
everything?
everything. So yeah, but
Well,
I
you
always,
showed it already. Studying two things at
yeah, yeah,
university and another is like, wow,
yeah,
that's I would say not many people who are able to do that. So if you can already do that, and if you think you can do that, that's wonderful.
yeah. It was the energy when you are young that I can say, but what I always remember is a quote from a writer, from a Latin American writer, Antonio Machado, that says something like, walker, there is no path. You need to keep on moving, or like to keep on walking to
Mhm.
create that path. So in Spanish is Caminante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. So um, and that quote motivates me a lot, because if you sometimes feel that you're struggling with something, and as everybody know, you are having a bad moment, but you need to keep on moving, like slowly, maybe not like running, but maybe slowly, and then you will again start to create a new path. Maybe it's not the previous path that you wanted to follow, maybe you need to switch or change something, but with that you can start moving things. So that quote, I always remember that quote, and that is a quote that my grandfather used to tell me always. So yeah, I
I
I
really like that because it shows also it's just well, like you say, what especially what you said near the end, like keep moving, maybe slower. And
yes,
what I've seen, and especially with young people, I would say that we always think, at least I was also like that, you need to move very fast. But sometimes what I've learned over the years is maybe I need to look in what direction to run and then start running. So take a little step back and when I was young, I was running, and while I was running, I was looking where do I need to run. Yeah, but if I'm running in the complete wrong direction, I could have
yeah,
better stand still.
yes,
And that's a little bit what I hear, like slowly, but keep moving, keep
yeah, yeah,
moving,
and
and then
yeah, and maybe at the end you will find new solutions, new opportunities, people that can give you a hand or help you with whatever you need. And so the idea is to keep on moving, maybe slowly, and to be like kind to yourself. That maybe not always you're gonna be running, but yeah, never like uh, lose that, how do you say, like courage or inspiration, that at some point things are going to change, and are going to be better. So yeah, that's the idea.
yeah, and that's yeah, the fact that we are in movement is already changing something. And well, when it's slower, what I also notice is that then people, I realize much more some of the changes. And if we're running too fast, we might not even see that things have been improved because we're
Yeah.
so busy running in a way. I really like that. Yeah, it's but I can imagine that that gives a lot of motivation and a lot of drive. So that's definitely something I think many people will recognize. So thanks for sharing that. When we're doing well, yeah, when you're motivated, when you do a lot of stuff, you talked already about trying to do two things at the same time. Yeah, typically then we achieve a lot of stuff. So, what do you consider your biggest achievement so far? And maybe before going into that, so basically, this is your moment to brag and to shine and say, "Hey, I'm proud of that." Is that easy for you to brag and to say, "Hey, I'm proud of this"? Is that an easy question to answer?
Maybe not so easy for me. I
Hmm.
remember that different friends and the people that know me, they're always telling me, "Hey, you need to share more about what you are already doing, because it is awesome." And maybe it's not so easy for me.
Mhm.
Uh, but one thing that I consider that's one of my biggest achievement is the company I have found around 7 years ago, which is my company now.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's very challenging having a, a company, but uh, at the same time, I find that that company has bring me a lot of good opportunities, and more especially good friends around the world. So that I'm very thankful for that. For example, this interview wouldn't be possible if I have not started at some point that company and then became a visual facilitator and meet Charlie,
Mm,
and then he introduced me to you, and so yeah,
exactly.
so that's
That's
why I'm very thankful for all these good opportunities and friends that I'm having through the company I have. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's indeed the nice thing. Well, that is for me. When I ask this question, many people say something similar as like it's hard to brag and it's hard to be proud. And then when you have people like Charles Louis reaching out and say, "Hey, you should be proud. This is your belong here." So yeah, that's always nice. And then I think that makes it easier, or I hope it makes it easier for people to then say, "Oh, indeed I can be proud of some of the things." And in your case it's the company. um are you coming from a family of entrepreneurs, or is that something you where did you
Mm,
learn that, or how did that came to happen?
yeah, maybe because of my father, because he's an architect, but then he decided to work by his own. So,
Hmm.
and nowadays he doesn't work as an architect, but yeah, he, I yeah, I can say it is because of him that I decided to follow maybe the same path as an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, because besides him, all the other family members, they work for different companies, and at the beginning was not so easy to share with them about what I was planning to do. For example, I remember once and again, telling them about the idea of the co-working spaces in where
Hmm.
I used to work, and they didn't understand very well. Oh, what is that? A shared office? What is that? It was not so easy, but at the end. Now after 7 years that I'm have been doing this, they understand what I'm doing. They appreciate a lot, and they now, yeah, celebrate with me all the different opportunities and success that I'm having with the company. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's I can really relate to that, because I have my own company, but neither my mother nor my father had any own company, and it's sometimes hard for them to understand
Yes.
what it means. And at some level, of course, they worked in companies, so they understand parts of some of the things. But yeah, if I have a client that stops, my mother's still like, "Oh, you're out of a job." And it's like, no, I still have a job. I have my company, and I can deal with it. Is that similar to what you said about not being able to share with friends, or is that something completely different?
um, yeah, it's kind of, and also the idea of working related to innovation. To explain to them about agile teams. If they say, "Oh, what is that?" and so it was not so easy. Maybe if I'm an entrepreneur in another field, maybe it will have been more easy. But yeah, explaining to them, to friends, that I work related to innovation, to digital transformation. Last weekend, I was with friends from the first job I had here in Lima, and most of them are recruiters, psychologists, and so they were asking me what I have been doing all these years, because it has passed like 15 years or more.
Hmm.
I was explaining them that now I work related to innovation, to digital transformation, and they were saying to me, so you don't work as a psychologist anymore. And I was explaining them, no, now is where I use more psychology and all different tools to help people to understand, to work better together, to achieve in a more easy way their goals and things like that. So but it was not so easy. I found myself that it was not so easy for them to understand how I'm using psychology in innovation and with digital transformation. So yeah, maybe if I have decided to be an entrepreneur in another field, it would have been more easy to explain. But yeah, it
Yeah,
is
but
what it is. Yes.
exactly, and there is,
Yes.
yeah, there is a lot of value in it as well, I would say. Yeah, but that's, yeah, in a way, when especially in the agile field, sometimes we're change agents, and yeah, it also means that we're doing things that not everybody around us understands it, and that might indeed sometimes be really hard to explain. So thanks for clarifying that, because that's indeed a very different kind of thing as what I was talking about. So yeah, it's yeah, it's very nice. I want to move to that next question. Do you have a personal agility tip to share? Is there something where, yeah, where you say I still want to, yeah, to share?
Personal agility. You mean like a tip to apply with working as an agilist? Or
I on purposely don't define much what this question means, because it allows us for much more diversity. So one way of of looking at that is this, so that would definitely be a good one. But it could be in different ways. How you apply agility in your personal world. I think. Yeah, I'm not going to give examples, but there
okay,
is
okay,
lots of
okay, okay, okay.
examples of people doing it in a different way. So yeah, that
Okay,
is.
okay, that's fair. Um, I can say that always have the courage to experiment, like in your
Mm,
personal life, and also with inviting teams to experiment a new way of working. Always invite them to do a start, like let's experiment with this, and then let's see if this works or not, because I think it is more inviting for people when you share the idea by being an experiment and not by saying, now we're going to, for example, start doing the dailies, or we are going to start um, using the retrospective in the way we conduct the project. Especially if the people are very new into agile, I can find that I have found that it is very challenging when you start working with teams that they have been doing projects but without agility, to start saying to them, now we need to do the daily, the retrospective, and a lot of different kind of new events, that a new terminology that it is for them. It is, I feel that it is too much. So a better way is to invite them to experiment. Let's experiment, and then let's see if this works, and we can talk about it and see if we can move forward or not, and if we need to do a change. And also for my personal life, I try to have that experimental mind, like not to be very worried about things, like try to live experiences as an experiment and see
mhm.
if that works or not. Yep.
And do you sometimes work? So I've also worked in the past with people who are looking for a fixed thing and a good way. Could you give me a checklist, or could you give me an exact thing? And with working with experiments, I've noticed is for some people really, really hard. It's like they're looking like, what do you mean? You want to try something and then maybe not do it anymore? Or so sometimes it blocks some people. Have you ever experienced that with some people?
um, Not so much, but maybe with when the team or the team, it is like, let's say, leaders or managers in the
Hmm.
team. Maybe they are expecting and they are more focused on the results and the indicators and things like that. So you cannot expect them to be always like experimenting, because it is they can feel that very unstructured. So
Hmm.
you need to invite them to experiment, but with a precise period of time, and also by having results that you can share with them and to see if that help them reach a better result or not. So that's what maybe what I suggest when you're having a group or you're working with a team that's in where there are a lot of managers or leaders that are more focused on the results and the indicators and things like that. So, for example, you can also have as a tool the KPIs or any kind of indicators that you can share with them to see that we are moving forward. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can see. Well, I've also experienced it with team members, but yeah, it again. Every part is different, so it might be very different. And I can definitely see when that some managers have even a harder time than if people are in such a mindset that it's even harder for in a manager role than in a team role for some of the changes. So yeah, that's. Definitely something I can recognize. So yeah, very very good tips there as well. So thanks for sharing that. I want to move to that next one about remote work. And so if well, let's also start looking at, did you do remote working before COVID, for example? Were you already working in a remote way before?
Yes, but not so much. Not so
Mhm.
much, to be honest. And since COVID, I can say that maybe the amount of time that I'm working remotely or in a hybrid way, it has increased a lot. Um, what I have found all these years by working remotely is that remote work is not for everybody. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and maybe some people they have this need of having the life like the not the remote work, like they need to be working in a
Physically with other
yeah
people.
yeah physically with other people because it is very challenging for them, like having their camera on all the day or for all the meetings that they need to have. It is a lot. So I can say that remote work is not for everybody, and that's one biggest learning. And the other one is that when you agree with the team to work remotely, it is always better to agree with the team how you are going to work. And like there are some activities that you can do synchronously, and other activities that you can do by your own. Each team member can work at their own pace. Yeah, but you need to agree on how you are going to work, when you are going to use, like for example, WhatsApp or Slack or Telegram or whatever platform for communication, to define a schedule for that. Because if you are, for example, here in Latin America, some companies that work remotely, they pretend you to be working all the days and the 24 hours, and that is not possible. That is not for mental health. That's not good. So you need to define a schedule in where you are going to be sharing information, to be communicating. So yeah, it's possible to work
Mhm.
remotely. I enjoy it a lot, but I also understand at the same time that maybe it's not for everybody, and that maybe if I have some team member that I find them of he or she like struggling with the remote work, I for sure I will need to spend more time with that person to help them
Yeah,
go
I've
through this.
recognized that. I've recognized that yeah, it's and indeed, uh, I would say before COVID, not many people, more people were working physically, and now we see another balance. And I might even say for some people, they realize that, hey, wait a minute, remote work has some value for me.
Yeah.
And the opposite. Now we need to make sure that we look also at the opposite thing about, yeah, how is it actually even possible, yeah, to work remotely. For some people it is not, so that's yeah, that is indeed a
Yes.
very good tip.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that. That's yeah, I really like that. It's some things that we sometimes forget. Yeah, we were looking at how can we make remote work better, and we have to realize that, you know what, for, well, first of all, for some jobs it's not possible, but then also for some people it's not possible. So that's
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
good addition to that. So thanks for sharing that. I want to move to that next question about a book. What's a book that you have read that yeah, that you think is worth sharing?
Well, the book that I'm currently reading, because I haven't finished it, it is Empowered by Marty Cagan.
And
Um,
that's the book, right?
yeah, that's
Marty's
the
book.
book. Yes, that's the book. How to create extraordinary products with ordinary people, and it is a very like very easy to read book. And it talks a lot about how you can be a leader and how you can be with your team. It talks about how you need to develop the coaching skills as well as the managing skills, how you set the goals, how you be aware of the team typology. I mean, like the structure of the team, how you need
Mm,
to define it. Um, yeah, and so it gives you a lot of different very precise ideas on how to be a leader with your team. For example, I really like the idea also on how the company approaches technology and innovation.
mhm,
If they see this movement as an investment that they need or they are forced to do, or there are other companies that see technology and innovation not because they are forced to do it, they do it because they truly believe in that. So that's a different, completely different angle in how the
mhm.
company can live all this innovation and technology wave that we are having. So yeah, that's that's the book I highly recommend people to
Yeah,
review, to read. Yeah.
Marty's book has been, yeah, he's having, I think he's even have a couple of books out now, and yeah, that's yeah, it's one of the books that has been. It's actually don't think it's been recommended a lot, um, but at the same time, it's a person that many more people have been talking recently about him. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. I was looking for what's the other book. His other book, Inspired,
Inspired. Inspired. Yes.
was also another book that came and attracted a lot of people in the agile community. So definitely, yeah, a person that also tries to challenge our community in ways like, okay, where do we still want to look for, and where do we want to transform our way of thinking. um but yeah, I really like what you said, the subtitle for the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, for ordinary people making extraordinary products. I think that's the subtitle, and I think that's yeah, a powerful one, I would say,
Yeah.
to
Yeah. And
really
also,
learn. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sorry. And also his idea on how he approaches leadership, because it is not that you don't need leaders anymore. It is that you need better leaders, you know? So you need to be a leader that it is a kind of a facilitator. And so that is why it is important for you as a leader to develop these coaching skills, also the um mentoring skills, to be more with your with the people you're working with. So, for example, he also recommends ideas on how you can recruit, how you can do the onboarding, the hiring of the people that is going to be part of your team. So you,
Hmm.
as a leader, you need to be involved in that, and not just the people department or the HR department that needs to be doing all this onboarding process or the recruitment process. You, as a leader, you are the first one that it is called to do these activities, because by that you can assure that the people that you're having in your team is the right people that you need, because they are driven by the product vision and all the purpose of the digital product that you are creating. So you need to have people that are very passionate about that. So
Hmm.
that's why he recommends and suggests that you, as a leader, you need to be involved in that processes. So yeah, as a former HR leader, I really liked this idea, because I have worked in companies where all these activities are just done by HR, and you can see that it is very difficult and very challenging for the HR or people department, because at some point you find some like how do you say, like problems, because you cannot move forward. You cannot keep on things to develop as the way you expect to be done, because you maybe find that there is a leader that they don't believe in the culture and of the company and whatever, and so it is very challenging to spread a good environment if you are having a leader that is not so, let's say, um, kind to the team. So yeah, that's this is
Definitely.
another idea that I like it from this book, because it invites leaders to be more aware of these topics.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I really like what you said in the beginning about the hiring aspects, and it reminds me of a book that I read from Jim Collins, Good to Great, where he was also talking rather in the beginning of the book. I think about it's also about getting the right people on the bus and making sure that before you make all the big decisions and strategy and everything, it's important, but having the right people and selecting the right people, it is indeed a core aspect of creating a good company and making sure you hire the right people. And when in the hiring, be involved in all of that. That is indeed a very important thing there. And the right people for the right time, I would say, because I can also see that, yeah, a smaller company needs different kind of people that when they grow and yeah and not everybody, I've read it somewhere this week, that not everybody wants to work in a big large multiglomeral company, and not everybody wants to work in a five-piece company either. You need different kind of people, and at different moments in your life you might want to work in a different kind of company
Yeah,
as well.
and also not all the people from your team, they want to become leaders. Maybe they want to just be a specialist, and that's perfectly fine, because you also need the specialist to be there.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's also another good idea to have in mind, that not everybody want to become leaders. Maybe some of them they just want to be the specialist for the, for example, the design department, or yeah, and yeah, that's good. So
Hmm.
yeah.
I really like that as well, because indeed, yeah, a lot of nuances that you add in all these sites, and so I really like that. So thanks for sharing, and all of that from as basically a publication for or publicity for Martin Kagan's book. So thanks for that.
Yes.
So I want to move to, for me, one of the most interesting questions. What question do you think I should also ask you, and what's the answer?
What question? What question you should ask me? Maybe if there is something else that I want to share about myself,
Mm-hmm.
and the answer is yes. There is a little bit more because I think I have not shared so much about my role as a visual facilitator or visual thinker, in where I use a lot these visual tools, like using like drawings and visual structures to share information and to help people understand the information they need to understand. Yeah, and I can say that that's another tool that also has helped me a lot when working with teams, and especially as an agile facilitator, because it gives me another opportunity to help them understand the information. Nowadays we have a lot of access to information. We have a lot of books, a lot of articles. Now with the artificial intelligence, it is a craziness, the amount of information that we can access. But the key point of that is how much of that information we really understand. I always say how much of that information we can digest. We can like understand, we can process, and
Mm-hmm.
from that, how we can take decisions, or how we can create new ideas, new solutions. So that's another tool that I always invite people to experiment with, because it can help you especially if you are working as an agile facilitator or agile coach or scrum master. It can give you another angle to work with teams. Yeah.
Okay, and could you state some more? When did you learn these kind of tricks, or when did you learn that that is actually helpful? Do
Yeah,
you have a story about that?
yes, I have a story. 8 or 9 years ago, I registered for myself for a training that was, for me, it was something about drawings. And as I shared with you already, I
Mhm.
have been always wanted to be related to design, to arts, and said, okay, I don't know what this training it is about, but I see that there are some drawings that we are going to do some kind of that work. So and that training was a Vicablo training. Vicablo is a German company that is leader in visual thinking there in Europe. So um, I went to this training, and I cannot express with words what do I feel after the training ends. But I remember something as, this is what I want to do for my life. So I need to learn more about this. And I couldn't register for the second day. So I asked the host if I can register, to have the second day training. And she told me, no, it's not possible. We have a lot of, it is plenty, and there is not space. And I said, but I want to learn more. And so I talked to the trainer, that was a woman, Desiree, from the Netherlands. And she told me, well, maybe you can get in touch with Frank, who is a kind of a coordinator in Germany. So I wrote to him, and at the end, I ended becoming a Picablo trainer for Latin America, and I
Mhm.
have been working with them for 5 or 4 years. Um, I went to Germany 3 times, and that's how I had my first opportunity to visit Europe. And yeah, so it was a really nice experience. So that's how I started to be related to this visual thinking field. So yeah, I always share that experience with a lot of joy, and yeah, and with passion, because it was very, I can say that it was very special for me, because of that I started to be related to agile teams, and that's why I then decided to become a Scrum Master. And after that, that's how I discovered the UX UI field. So
A
you can
lot of
see,
strings all
yes,
together,
yes, 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 yes,
and really, yeah, for me, a totally different path than many of the people I know, because the people I know usually come from the agile world and then move into visual facilitation. And
yeah.
for you,
It was,
it's more the opposite.
yes, the
Uh,
opposite. It was the
so
opposite.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah. I was trying to think. I have some of them exactly where it would take me too long to find them, but I have a couple of yeah, their books and yeah,
Yeah.
booklets, I would say.
The Usmo book from Vicablo is a really good book.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I always review it and read it one and again, and yeah, it is a never ending. Like, and I always find new ideas, and so yeah, it's a really good book, and also with a lot of drawings.
A lot of drawing, yeah. Well,
Yes.
yeah, of course, that's very logical, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's yeah, Uzmu thinking without your pen, without your pen, thinking with your pen.
With the pen, with
The
the pen.
visual
Yes.
guide in English, yeah. So I definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah, very famous, I would say, in the visualization environment. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's indeed a very nice extra question to ask and to bring in a whole different kind of thing. Okay, I want to move to that next question. What is a person that I should also invite? So who's the I don't know why that question keeps moving there, but so else should I also invite?
Who else? I have two people in mind.
Hmm.
One of them is Moonway Chun from the United
I think
States.
this is her, if I'm
Yes,
correct.
yes, yes. She works related to business agility.
Hmm.
So yeah, and it's
And why should I invite her?
because she's a very like kind person. I'm sure you will enjoy talking with her, and she has this strategic business approach related to agility. So um, I think it is very inspiring, that because you can be like working as an Scrum Master, Agile coach with your team or with some teams, but if the company doesn't have this strategic and business approach to agility, at some point you cannot do more. So, and that's why I follow Moonway, and all the stuff she creates and all the information she shares, because she shares really good ideas related on how you can talk with leaders, with managers, or on the benefits that agility can have for the organization. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for
You will
sharing
enjoy.
that.
She also has a podcast, so yeah, so you can imagine the kind
No
of a
problem for
person
talking
she is.
anyway.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that already. And you had a second person in mind, I think you said.
Yeah, the other one is Mauricio Robles
And I
from,
think that's him, if I'm
yes,
correct.
from Costa Rica. Yes, yes,
Hmm.
he's an agile coach. Well, I think he's the trainer for the agile coaches. So he has a lot of experience, and also he's a very kind person. I always love to follow people that they have all this technical and specialization in their field, but also they are very like empathetic and very kind and very easy to talk with. And so that's the kind of person that Mauricio is. He has a lot of experience, but he's very approachable. You can always ask him for ideas or for information, and he's always gonna tell you, yes, I can help you with that. So yeah. So especially for agile coaches, and considering he's from Latin America, yeah, he's a really good person to talk with. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, one of the reasons for me to ask people to invite other people is because that way, we get more people from different parts of the world, and not always being in the little pool of people that I know. That's for me, and yeah, knowing them well. It's one thing to ask for people who are typically in the agile world from the start, but it's much more for me at least as interesting, not to say even more interesting, to talk to the leaders of the future, because this is where new ideas are coming from, and this way is working with people from different countries. I learn again more people that have been trying other things that I might not know. So thanks for sharing that, Alexandra. For been talking now a little more than an hour, I think, by now. So if people want to reach out to you and want to connect to you, what would be a good way to connect to you?
Via LinkedIn, it is a good way. I'm
I
always
think that's
reviewing the messages there. So yeah, it is a
and this
good
should
way.
be your LinkedIn page
Yes,
here at the top. So
yes.
so yeah, it's been a wonderful moment to talk. It's like I said, it's very nice to connect from different parts of the world, different parts of the day. Even for you, it's near. It's in the afternoon. For me, it's near the end of the day. Still, this gives me a lot of energy to having conversations like that. Because it's so nice with your ideas, with your stories. So thank you for being here.
Thanks to you. Thanks for the opportunity and for the space. It has been wonderful to be here and to share as much as I can from my experience. And I hope this can help other people to be inspired and to have more ideas on how to be working with people. That's what we mainly do in agility and all in this innovation field. We mostly work with people and how we can transform their lives. So yeah, thank you so much.
Well, and sharing our lives, how our lives have transformed over the years, is indeed a good inspiration. And so you did a really well job, and yeah, wonderful sharing wonderful stories. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and indeed, let's hope it inspires other people as well. So have a good evening. Bye bye.
Okay, bye
Thank
bye.
you for watching Who's Agile, where the stories of Agilists come to life. I hope you liked today's interview. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and want to get to know other Agilists.